When our superintendent, Michael Matsuda, was elevated into his role, it really started with him and his vision of what he thought our students should experience. Beyond that, he wanted them to know how to be engaged citizens, how to be empowered, how to identify issues in their own neighborhoods, their own communities. I can honestly say that without this being part of our superintendent's vision for what education should be for our students, we wouldn't be where we are now.
Well, simply put, democracy is under threat in this country. There's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of divisiveness. There's a lot of hatred. And I think it's really, really important that students establish their own voice and they learn to debate civilly. They learn to respect others' opinions. And that's how we rebuild trust in democracy.
So throughout our district, we've got a variety of civic engagement projects. We have projects related to organization called Empowered that looks at vacant lots and ways in which students can benefit their community or take source of assets within their community and build those up. At Magnolia High School, they have a sustainability farm. We do lessons on the progressive era and modern slavery and have students look at current issues at different sites. But really assignments that are aimed at giving students a voice and a purpose in their communities and in the world today.
Something that's happening all across our district is the opportunity to give students to talk about something that they're passionate about. Sometimes these are called soapbox speeches. And here at South, we're doing that as well. It's called South Talks, where students have the opportunity to share about a topic that they care about deeply, and then of course to do something about it. In addition to that, our South Senate has the opportunity to exercise their voice as well. All across our classes, 2 students are selected and have the opportunity to then represent their classes and talk about an issue that they care about and then to do something good about it.
Every site has students who participate in soapbox speeches. We have a district-wide soapbox speech finals. At the same time, we've had students apply to the MCFA Soapbox Nation Challenge, which is a nationwide soapbox contest. And for the last 4 years, we've had at least one student be named a winner of that competition as well. Students give their soapbox in public forums like Open House, at STEAM-A-Palooza, at the Student Civic Showcase, which typically takes place at the Richard Nixon Presidential Library.
Catella Talks, to put it simply, it's basically just a showcasing of a collection of student speeches on a topic that they are passionate about that are kind of done in like a TED Talk format. I think this is a really important civic engagement process for them because it really gives them a hands-on experience with not only picking a topic that is relevant to their community, but also now how do we go about solving that? What are potential solutions? What can I do to help? What are bigger solutions that may require other help from other adults, other programs, organizations around me? So it's a great kind of collaborative process so they can see, when you identify a problem, what is the next step and how can we critically go about tackling this problem and engaging the entire community to help solve that problem. So it's an excellent way to introduce them to civic engagement.
As part of Civic Action Week, we have our Tolerance Summit starting today. We have our 8th graders presenting in the NPR on diverse topics, celebrating diversity, ultimately leading to taking action. And then tomorrow we have 7th graders presenting activity booths where they celebrate their identities, just kind of raising awareness about our communities here and getting everyone involved.
This is super important for students. It allows them to find their voice and then use their voice. In English, it takes them outside of the classroom and it gets an authentic audience for them, and they get to see sometimes real change. Like we had a guest speaker today who's a 9th grader from Cypress High School, and she started Art for Awareness on campus as a club, and she got to come back and speak about that and share how she did that and why she did that with the staff and all the students, and that's amazing.
The things that I see come out of this is Our campus is so diverse and our community is so diverse that we get perspectives from a lot of different angles, and students are there's awareness brought to things that they might not have heard about in the past. They get to represent themselves, and it kind of just brings us all together as ultimately a celebration of our diversity. And so I believe that's one of the most important parts of this.
Well, once again, it's so exciting what's happening here in Anaheim Union High School District. We have 6 Civic Learning Awards of Excellence. We have 28 Civic Learning Awards. We have 1 Civic Hero. Just amazing number of accolades happening here in Anaheim Union High School Districts. Once again, it's not about the awards, but it's really about the opportunity to give students to exercise their voice and choice.
And so the first big accolade that we focused on was becoming California Democracy School. So at this moment, we have 17 California Democracy Schools, which is more than any in the whole state of California.
We had to apply and we had to prove that we have the different components of civic inquiry. So that starts with students developing their own inquiry question and conducting research, communicating conclusions. They have to take action and engage in civic dialogue. So it's like a 6-step process that we had to show evidence that our students were doing. And not just some students, we had to show that all students were getting that experience.
From that, we started to have our schools enter the annual California Civic Learning Award, and this comes out of the California court system.
Civic Learning Award was similar. We had to show that different components of civic learning was happening at our school. So it went beyond just civic inquiry. We also had to show that students had opportunities to engage in clubs and after-school activities, that our curriculum that students take here involves government.
And with that award, we've earned 6 levels of excellence, which is the highest one, which again is more than any district in the state of California. And then a new award, last year was the first year, was the State Seal of Civic Engagement. So it was very simple for us to apply and say, our students have done everything that the state says they need to do to earn this state seal. So last year as a pilot, we earned, I believe, 1,963. And we're actually at this point looking like we're gonna have over 2,700 for this year. So Anaheim Union originally started our civic journey by having many of our teachers trained out of the LA County Office of Education. But after a while, we had enough teachers trained that we had built capacity so that we could create our own Civic Learning Institute in Anaheim Union.
It's really important for all the things that we do to have teachers own what we're trying to do. And once teachers own it, once they get it, they're going to be able to express and influence other teachers to buy into the training. And that's been the most effective way to spread new ideas, new types of professional development when teachers are speaking directly to teachers.
Yeah, at the district we lead trainings that teach teachers how to bring civics into their classrooms. And those trainings are largely aimed at helping teachers with the 5-step process of the civic inquiry arc. And so teachers go through inquiry, investigation, civil dialogue, communicating conclusions, and taking informed action. Those are the 5 steps of our civic projects that give students a purpose and a voice and an opportunity for teachers to work with their students on things that are already happening in the classroom. Inquiry and investigation are common across content areas. Civil dialogue is something that we pride ourselves on in allowing students the opportunity to have communication with one another, even on controversial topics. And so we want to train teachers on how to work with that so that they can handle those topics within their classroom, but also give teachers the training to be able to allow the students to speak and not get in the way of what's important to them. And then of course, communicating conclusions can take the form of essays, it can take the form of public service announcements, it can take the form of trifolds or anything along those lines, and teachers are receiving training on how to incorporate that into their class and then taking students to the place of taking informed action. And informed action could be something as simply as voting in the next election. It could be something as patronizing a business. It could be something as, like we said, working on a vacant lot in their community. But those projects all incorporate those 5 steps, and we want to ensure that teachers are trained to incorporate those into their classrooms as well.
Civic engagement, I'm a government teacher, so I'm a little biased, but it is so important for students because it brings the curriculum for government, and of course civic learning can be for any content area, but in government, it brings the content alive and makes it meaningful for students, helps students find their voice, they find something that they care about, and a lot of students have never even thought about, what do I care about in my community? What do I think is a problem? And then what can I do about it? And so we teach them how to take action, how to exercise that voice and do something about it and make a difference.
You know, I just love that students have that opportunity to, because I think students care about a lot of different issues. Students are not apathetic, they have been uninvited. And so we invite them to share issues that they care about so that they can do something good about it. In addition to acts of compassion, it also builds a sense of agency, this feeling like students can do something good with their talents and gifts.
We believe in creating dopamine moments. Moments that make a student go, you know, I enjoyed my experience, but man, when we did that civic action, I'm always going to remember that. When I got that letter back from that city council member, or when I spoke at that board meeting, I was empowered. I felt like I made a difference.
You know, one of the most exciting civic action projects that emerged kind of came up during the pandemic, actually, as we saw the surge in anti-Asian racism. OC Human Relations reports a 1,800% increase in racism toward Asian Americans, hate incidents. And the students wanted to do something about that. And so the fact that they participated in the Know Better campaign to know hate, to combat anti-Asian racism through PSAs and other civic action projects, something that I was very proud of that our students could be a part of.
At Savannah, we had a little bit of a controversy surrounding our mascot, and the district knew that we were a California democracy school, and so they gave us the opportunity to design a lesson for the students to go through, once again, to give students a voice about what was important to them. And so we took the 5 steps that I previously mentioned: inquiry, investigation, civil dialogue, communicating conclusions, taking informed action, for students to communicate and research and think about their mascot and what was important to them. And we took all students on campus through a 5-day lesson, presented the results to the board, had students vote, and then were able to give that to Anaheim when the same issue arose at their school. Once again, allowing students to have a voice and the teachers to step back so that students could really focus on what was important to them.
Currently, we have a group of students who thought that the parents and students were driving too crazy in the parking lot. And so they came up with a proposal of what they thought would be a safer plan of how to run the parking lot. And so recently they went to a school board meeting and presented their plan, and later followed up with Patty Neely, who came out and observed the parking lot situation herself. And there's been this back and forth between the students and the district. Really cool to see the kids advocating for something and actually getting those suggestions implemented.
I think that a lot of their importance lies in students needing to be involved in their community, and it gives them an opportunity to figure out a proper way to accomplish that. You know, I often say to students, you know, they're familiar with national politics and sometimes not with local politics, and yet the local school board can incorporate a policy, 40 hours of community service, that can affect students immediately. And so they should be aware of what's going on around them. And sometimes they miss out on understanding the assets in their community. You know, we've got a really good public library system in the city of Anaheim that may just be right around the corner and could make their lives either easier or better, or something that maybe they'll find a passion for and then pursue in the future.
I think that students, as they become adults, as they become voters, they need to understand how to connect the dots. Who benefits from what? Who's responsible? Is it local? Is it state? Is it federal? I think those are huge skills as they become citizens of this country.
Civic engagement is important because you live in a democracy and you need to know, in essence, the rules of the game. But if our young people aren't invested in this democracy, it can go away.
Democracy is important because that is what this country is based on. Thomas Jefferson argued that the greatest threat to democracy is ignorance. And what institution is built to counter ignorance? It's public schools. So it's really on us. Our democracy only goes as far as our public schools go in terms of teaching and modeling democracy.
Yes, we have content. There are content standards. There's content framework. But it's also our duty to help our students feel engaged in the place they are living, to feel empowered, know they can make a difference, and they have the tools to do that.